This is the 2014 Honda Accord Hybrid, and we're taking a drive in the 2014 Volkswagen Jetta Hybrid. I got a lot of complimentary comments about the styling, unusual for a plain Jane Japanese sedan. Must be the nice metallic blue paint and those fancy wheels. Now, the Accord has a gasoline 4-cylinder engine, around 140 something horsepower, and a very strong electric motor that boosts the total output to 196 horsepower. Now, this car has 3 modes of operation. First, there's electric only, which engages at low speeds or from a stop sign. Then number 2 is the car moves along at higher speeds. It runs off both the gas engine and the battery, like conventional hybrids. And the third is on the highway, where the hybrid system doesn't really cut in and you're running on the gasoline engine alone, unless you're passing. Obviously, your better gas mileage is going to be in stop-and-go city traffic, where this car is rated at 50 miles per gallon city and 45 on the highway. We'll see what it does in the real world, coming up after a few days of driving. There is no conventional transmission as such. On paper, it's listed as a CVT automatic 1-speed. It's very odd to drive. We'll just have to talk about that later as we get to driving the vehicle. I've never been able to warm up to the Honda Accord interiors. There's a little bit too much Star Trek spaceship designing in here, but that's just me. Doesn't mean you don't have to like it. There's lots and lots of room in these rear seats, so you can stick a couple elephants back here. Personally, I prefer knobs on my radio controls instead of a push button. That's okay, it works just fine. Same thing with the climate control. Very simple to use, in spite of the fact that we don't have knobs. But if it works, it works. The gauge cluster gets some use to, but it works as well. For storage space, the center console doesn't have much room in there. The glove box has little room, pretty much useless unless you're smart enough to take this thick owner's manual out and toss it in the door jab or in the trunk. Now we finally have some room. Now, the hybrid system adds a few hundred pounds of weight to the car. On the other hand, this electric motor pulls like a tank. The engine really does have lots of low-end grunt. But with the so-called transmission, getting it there can be kind of a problem. If you're driving normally, everything's okay, but if you floor it, sometimes you get more noise than acceleration. You see, pickup off the line was great, but once the speed started hitting around 25 or 30, it was backing off. By the way, in order to save weight, Honda does not provide a spare tire with the Accord Hybrid. All you get down there is a chintzy air pump. If you're taking trips in remote areas, I don't think this is a good idea. If you don't want to fork up for a spare tire and wheel, which you should, do what I'm doing. Carry a bigger air pump and lots of stop leak. Now, before I took the Accord Hybrid out for my long drives, I made sure the tire pressures were properly set at 33 pounds all around, so I get the maximum performance and ride comfort. In spite of that, I've noticed a lot of thumping noises over bumps and rumbling noises over rough pavement. Unusual for a Honda Accord. I've driven these before, they're usually a lot quieter. By the way, a nice feature the Accord has is the right turn signal camera, like so. So when you're running over bicyclists and pedestrians, you get to watch them on camera. Great device. Works great at night too. Oh goody, what a day for a tornado to cross the freeway. Heading right for me. I guess I'll escape with my life.
If you're still watching this video, you undoubtedly want to know the fuel consumption figures I got in this Honda Accord. It's like this. In city traffic, I got 39. On highway driving at 75 miles per hour plus, I got 35. And at 55 mile per hour, local cruising, I went up to 39 again. Multiply that times a 15.8 gallon tank, we're talking a range of over 600 miles.
As I said earlier, the Accord is usually a smooth riding car, so I think all the thumping and rumbling noises we're getting is coming from these 225-50 R17 tires and wheels. They're nice looking, but they seem a little big for a car this size. It's also a bit unusual for a car that's trying to save weight to get better gas mileage. But what the heck, they look good, and they're here, and there's nothing I can do about it. The base price of a Honda Accord Hybrid starts around $29,000, unless you get the loaded luxury model like this one, which was $36,000. Now, in case you're wondering, the hybrid system adds around $3,700 to the price of an Accord over the non-hybrid. So you have to figure how much driving am I going to have to do to make it pay for itself. Now, I never did get the advertised 47 miles per gallon in mixed city driving, nor did I expect to. But let's give benefit of the doubt. Let's compare the 47 miles per gallon on the hybrid to the 30 miles per gallon on the non-hybrid, and then figure the mileage, the cost of gas. I think on the average you're looking around 75,000 miles for it to pay for itself. Now, before we move on to the Volkswagen Hybrid, I've been getting some complaints about my videos saying they don't have enough women or music in them. So to satisfy that crowd, here's a little intermission for you. This is a 2014 Volkswagen Jetta Hybrid. Now, the base engine in the Jetta is a 2-liter rated at 115 horsepower, gets 24 to 34 miles per gallon. That starts around $16,000. Then you have the 1.8 turbo, 170 horsepower, rated at 26 to 36 miles per gallon. Third, you have a turbo diesel, rated at 30 to 42 miles per gallon, which runs around $22,000. The hybrid system on this vehicle is sort of odd because you get an electric hybrid motor and a turbocharger at the same time. This jacks the price up to around $26,000, but it makes for a very interesting, I won't say complicated system, but definitely a lot of power. Around 170 horsepower to be exact, and it's rated at 42 in the city and 48 on the highway. Well, we'll see about that. Now, the cabin on the Jetta is nothing fancy, but you do get a good gauge package here. Very easy to read. Nice climate control system. Simple knobs and buttons. Can't do better than that. Unless you go to the radio system. Simple knobs and buttons as well. A nice sized glove box. One thing I didn't care for was the computer that calculates the average miles per gallon. It resets itself every time you start the car. A minute ago I was getting 37 miles per gallon, but I started the car, now it dropped down to 29. So the only way to get the actual gas mileage is to take a very, very long trip once you start the vehicle. Frankly, I think this is kind of a dumb system. Now, there are two features I can tell you about this engine. Number one, it's extremely quiet. Unless you press the accelerator down to the floor, you don't hear much of anything. Very impressive. Number two, this thing has lots of pickup. Plenty of passing power. Brakes are a little mushy on the hybrid version of this car, but you'll get used to it. The Jetta's got one of the best suspensions I've ever driven in a small car. Very smooth, very quiet, glides over bumps with ease. Unusual for a car that starts out with a $16,000 price tag. A very nice long highway cruiser. The handling is very good too. I might mention the transmission on the Jetta Turbo is a 7-speed dual clutch which also helps with the performance ability, especially when you put it in sport mode. I've been driving this vehicle for about a week now. The best highway mileage I got, cruising at 70 miles per hour for a 65-mile trip, was 42 miles per gallon. In heavy city driving, I did a 33-mile trip, got 32 miles per gallon. And in mixed commuting, it averaged in the mid-30s. This is about what you get on the turbo diesel engine, although this is more fun to drive. I suppose if you set it on cruise at 55 miles per hour, you might reach the 48 miles per gallon you get on the price sticker, but I didn't try that. You'll have to do that yourself. I don't drive like that, sorry. Now, before I conclude the video, a lot of people are going to buy hybrid cars because they're convinced they're going to save the planet from man-made global warming. Global warming is a fraud. Fact is, the globe hasn't warmed in over 15 years. The sea levels are at an all-time low. The hurricanes and tornadoes we've had are the lowest it's been in 60 years. What else can I tell you? It's a myth. And it's not me talking. Over 20,000 scientists around the world have signed petitions debunking the global warming myth. So if you're going to buy a car like this, I recommend it totally, but do it for the right reason, because you like good engineering, not because of some global warming fantasy. So for those of you who don't agree with that, send me the hate mail by email. Otherwise, this is a very nice car and I do recommend it.
Deutschlands populärstes Auto, der Volkswagen, geht im großen Examen für seinen Besitzer mit Temperament durchs Feuer. Einmal in Zeitlupe. Diese Prüfungen werden nicht aus artistischen Gründen gemacht, sondern die privaten Nachahmung nicht unbedingt zu empfehlen. Aber wie man sieht...